Hey, what's up? It's Chris Young. What do you say we take a few minutes and meet your brand new Heartland Pioneer QB300 and talk about some of the features on it? Let's go. Congratulations on getting your brand new Heartland Pioneer QB300. Now let's talk a little bit about some of the features you're going to find inside and outside of your Heartland Pioneer QB300. We're going to start right up front with the powered tongue jack. You got the Ram 3,500 pound capacity electric jack. You also have a manual override on this one. You'll find this tool in the pass-through storage. Just pop that on there. If you don't have power, counterclockwise and clockwise, as you can see, rotating it counterclockwise raises, clockwise lowers. Now with the electric rocker switches that you have here, one is for your LED light switch, one raises and one lowers. So there you go. And when setting up and leveling your RV, you want to make sure that you do side to side first before you do front to back. But this will help you do that quickly and effectively. Now, right behind your powered tongue jack is also your 20-pound LP tanks with the cover. You'll see a little regulator switch right there in the middle. And if we open these up, if we have propane, that regulator will go from red to green. But you'll see my supply selector here. Right now it's on the right tank. If I switch it over to the left, selects the left tank. If you do need to swap these tanks out, you got your little wing nut right there. Just take that off, remove the security bar, and that way you can replace those propane tanks. And when you're putting your cover back on, try to always put it so that the tabs right here are facing the coach, because there is a little flap right here that sometimes wind can pick up and not only tear this off, but even sometimes take this completely off of the, take the cover completely off. Battery rails right there. Plus, over here on the campsite, you'll notice you have large storage with the King Kong size storage, which is finished off, but you got the plastic clip to hold your storage door that is anti-slam and has the covered hinges. And we have the power stabilizer jacks. These are the Lippert PSX1 stabilizer jacks. The rocker switch is located right above them, both in the front and the rear here on the campsite. Extend to extend and retract to retract. If you had power, they would be moving that way. Now these also have a manual override, which is on the other side. And once they go down, the one thing that you want to, just watch out for, because they are just stabilizer jacks. They're not leveling jacks. So once they hit the ground, it might not be a bad idea to get you a pad to put under there. But once they hit the ground, you hear it start grinding, stop. You don't want to overdo it because it'll break those jacks for you. You also have the 12-volt Solera adjustable awning arm here. To pull this down, I always recommend getting underneath the awning before you adjust it, because if you do pull it down and there's any water on top, it's going to come flying down. And you don't want to be on that side and get yourself an impromptu bath. And the second thing, make sure when you're done, put it back level before you bring the awning back in. Because what that's going to do is, if it's not straight, the awning's going to go in crooked. It might mess up the frame, and you really don't want that happening. Now I'm going to grab this tool right here to show you what we're going to do here in a minute. Now, you also have solid steps leading into your entry point on your QB300. Right here, just always be careful with these, because anything you got to lift, pull, or push inside your RV, just watch out for, bad back, bad shoulders, the whole nine. Just don't hurt yourself. You do have the MORryde handle right here and the blue retainer latch. Put that in, that'll keep it in place. And then to bring them out, you just pull this latch and bring the steps down. And you have these adjustable feet as well. This little switch, when you push in, allows you to move the foot up and down. Just get it to where you need it. But before we bring them down, I want to show you one thing. You do have a slide on your QB300, which does have a manual override. That's what this port is for right here. You see that nut right there? This goes on there, and then you just crank it to move your slide out manually if it gets stuck. So pull this down, make sure that you do it safely and securely. And once you set those steps down, make sure they're flush on the ground, but also the plate up top is flush, because if not, you won't be able to shut the door. You also have a grab handle that doubles as a door guard. And I'm going to take this tool, switch with Bobby, put this one back away. Always watch that awning. I bumped my head a few times. You got your cable connection and power connection if you want to set up some outside entertainment. Black tank flush and freshwater fill here as well. Your freshwater fill also has an air pressure valve. That's, you know, kind of a fail-safe too. So if you get too full, water will start spurting out. Then you can just drain some out if you need to with your low point drains. And with your black tank flush, do not use your potable water hose. Use a different water hose and make sure before you cut that water pressure on, the black tank is open. Now you also come with the Suburban water heater on your QB300. A few things to note about this one. Pressure release valve here, manual reset, flash tube, igniter, and exhaust cover or flash cover. This pressure release valve is really to allow you to get air on top of the water in the tank inside the heater, because you don't want it too full. If it does get too full, you'll see it begin to weep or drip. If that's the case, get your coffee mug, make sure that it's cooled down, and then just pull the pressure release valve to release some of that additional water that's not needed. Your manual reset, just push both buttons right there. If your flash tube has any bugs in it, debris, spider webs, or whatever, that could cause a malfunction as well, because propane has mercaptan in it and bugs love it. So get you a little pipe cleaner and just clean that out, especially if you see debris coming up the back of the exhaust. Speaking of exhaust, you got the 30,000 BTU Suburban furnace on this puppy too. Hot air comes out of here. And since we're on the campsite, watch out putting chairs in front of this. Right here is the back of your fridge. That right there is a condensation tube. That just makes sure that the pan that's inside the fridge doesn't fill up too much and cause too much water standing inside the fridge. You got those Dexter Easy Lube axles there, those aluminum rims with the nitro-filled tires. These are awesome. The manufacturer actually, you know, buys the upgraded Easy Lube axles for your convenience. But about every year, you want to bring them in to make sure that the bearings don't need to be repacked. If you ever come out and you try to touch the wheel assembly and it's super hot, you know, or you just smell something, that means you need to get it into service ASAP. You can give the Easy Lube axles a couple of squirts of grease, but that's really just to get it to the dealership. It is not a fix. If you ever have any issues or don't feel comfortable doing that, bring it in or call Good Sam Roadside. Down here, we got an LP Quick Connect. Nice little feature. You got your little your control plug right there. It helps you open and close the LP if you want to use your external grill. Rear stabilizer jacks work just like the front. 4x4 sewer hose storage. Tailgate system. You got a little retainer pin right here for the bolt. Just lift that up, pull it out, and now you got yourself an additional storage rack. Plus you got the backup camera there. Your cable input for your entertainment or satellite antenna, whatever you want to use, right there. External shower with hot and cold. City water connection right there. 30 amp plug right here. Now, if your power cord is, you know, if you're lucky enough to have a power cord that gives you an indicator light to show that you got power, that's great. But if you plug in, you're still not getting any juice, you know, something's wrong. Check to make sure that the circuit breaker hadn't popped on the tower, and always secure this in by push, turn, and then lock in. Underneath, you also got your terminations. Excuse me. So with your gray and your black tanks, especially the black tank, you don't need to leave that open all the time if you're hooked up at the campsite, because what will happen is pyramiding will start to happen with that solid waste. And when you go to flush the tank, it might cause some issues. So just hold off, because you do want some water in that tank, you know, pretty much at all times when you're using it. And when you do go to dump the black tank first and then the gray tank. Right here's the slide that I was talking about, that rack and pinion slide. And the reason why I've been walking around with this tool here is because if you notice, you see the groove right there? This corresponds with this little raised stem on the manual override for your LS1 jacks. Clockwise lowers, counterclockwise raises. You know, just gotta be careful, because sometimes they can get a little ornery. Put that back in the storage, lock my door. And that is some of the features on the outside of your Heartland Pioneer QB300. So what do you say we go inside and take a look at some of the features that might be hiding away in there? Okay, So when you come into your QB300, probably the first thing you're going to want to find are the controls. They're right here on the side of the cabinetry. You get your light controls, your slide controls, and your awning. Work pretty much how they're labeled. Slide, push up for in, down for out, awning, up for extend, down for retract. Down below that, you have your convenience center. This is where you can cut on your water pump, unless you're hooked up to fresh water. This only works if you're using your fresh tank, like your boondocking. And you do have a gas electric water heater, which is great. You can use either or if you want a quick recovery, you hit both. Now to check your battery, you hit that. And if you notice that if you're not above 2/3 and you've been trying to run the slide out, but it's not running, that's why. You need at least 12 volts. And for your tanks, you can check your tanks right there. Now, if you go to drain your tanks and you realize, you know, hey, I drained them, but the monitor is still showing that they're 2/3 or even full. There's sensors, 2 sensors on each tank. And sometimes after you drain, there can be a bead of water causing a misread. Give it about 15 minutes to drop down, come back, that should read empty. If not, bring it in, let our service folks take a look at it for you. With your entertainment center that you have here in the master, in the main living area, you got the little booster right there. Plus you got your 110, your HDMI cable coming from the back of your IRV Technologies command center. You got power, as well as you push it again to mute, and then push to hold to cut it off. You got Bluetooth, AM, FM, auxiliary, you got USB, plus you have HDMI, your volume controls, back, forward, and dual zone. Zone 1 is inside, Zone 2 is outside. In your kitchen, you have a 50/50 stainless steel undermounted sink with a high-rise faucet, hot, cold, and then just push to open. You also have a Suburban 3-burner cooktop with the glass cover that doubles as a backsplash. And the way you operate this is you look for the burner that you want to cut on. So let's say, for example, I want to do this front one. You push and you turn until the groove goes over to light, and then you turn this igniter switch all the way over to the left, and you turn it clockwise. Do not turn it the other way. Just make sure that you cut everything off. With your furnace, with your oven, you push, here we are. Push until you see the pilot. Same thing. Then you turn the igniter. Now, if you have propane, everything should cut on. If for some reason you don't, you can lift this panel up, and there's a little connector you can check for to make sure that the igniter hasn't come disconnected in transit. If you got gas, you check the igniter and it's still not firing up, bring it in, let our service folks take a look at it. Microwave works just like a microwave should. Your gas electric fridge, which runs on both gas or electric with the automatic switch. There's the off-on for it. There's the selector. With this, these are meant to keep things cool, not really make them cool. So don't block this component. Here's your controls for it. Just lift up. Sometimes this comes disconnected from the tube. Just slide it back in. And this is your condensation pan. There's a tube outside, which we showed outside, that this drains into. If you see this getting full, check to make sure that tube isn't blocked. Now, you also have the Advent 13.5 BTU AC on this one and the Suburban 30,000 BTU furnace. With this Advent, you got quick cool dumps here and here, 2 on the side, 1 in the rear. When you close it, all the air is ducted through the ceiling ducts, and you also have filters right here that you can take out and clean. If yours is a little bit different, you might have filters on the side. Just check for it. Now, with all of the electric components, if something isn't working, check to make sure that this fuse panel right here, you don't see any red lights on these fuses. That lets you know that something is faulty. You also got your LPO2 detector down there. And since I'm back here, let's talk a little bit about the bunk room. You do have twin bunks on the top on both sides. These lift up and lock into place with these little locks right here. Just slide them into the wall and then push them up to secure them in place. You got that on both sides. Then to bring them down, just pull, release, and slowly drop down. Your one-seater, or as I like to call it, the twin over here, which is also the dinette. This, you'll notice the table is already down. It's resting on the feet, which are on the front part of the dinette. You then just move the cushions out, or you can just slide them into place here. Now you got yourself a little spot to sleep without hitting your head, like I always do. Cable connection and 110 right there. For your TV, you got your little port to run your connections through. And pretty much the same thing for this side with the bunk. Just always be careful. If something's heavy, try not to lift it. If you got bad back, bad shoulders, get some help. Ask somebody to assist you. Inside your bathroom, you got a powered vent and fan right here. You'll notice you just turn the vents to open it up and cut the fan on. That'll help pull some of the hot air and the steam out. Just be sure to close it, definitely before takeoff, but also definitely if it's raining. High-rise plastic bowl with the foot flush. Just push the actuator down, the pedal just a little bit to get water in, and then to dump the tank, you push it all the way down. That flapper and seal, because of all the moisture that's in there, sometimes the flapper won't go, you know, it just won't make a good seal on the seal. So you can take some Vaseline and rubber glove, run it around that black lip, and that'll help out. Shower and sink controls, you got hot and cold on both. Operate pretty much the same. And on your shower, for your shower tub surround, you got the hot and cold down there, and your shower selector right there. So come out, you have a U-shaped dinette. Oh, good call, Bobby. This is your advent controls for your HVAC system. You power to power it on, and the mode you can change from, you know, fan, cool to heat, your fan controls, temperature controls right there. Carpetless slides, which will be easier to clean, and you have a U-shaped dinette and a jackknife sofa. What's great about this U-shaped dinette is this reduces down into a sleeper, and it reduces down much like the one in the quad bunk area. You'll see the foot that rests here on the booth. There's 3 of them around this booth. You just take the legs out, and then you just lay the table on those feet, move the cushions in, you got yourself another sleeping area. Jackknife sofa is a little bit trickier to get it out, and once again, please just always take care and caution with anything, lifting, pushing, or pulling. You don't want to hurt yourself. With this one, you just grab the bottom, lift up, and kind of gently slide out, lay it down. There's your sleeping surface. To put it back away, I like to push, grab in the middle, and I use my hip to kind of shimmy a little bit and let it slide back down. There's your jackknife sofa. All right, last room is going to be probably your sanctuary, your master bedroom. You got a queen size bed, and you have power and LED lights behind both of your mirrored ward storages, which have side access with 110s. You also have a storage compartment underneath the bed. Just be careful lifting it up because it's not strut supported, and lowering it down. And last but not least, you notice how we have these blackout shades, but they have the suspension cord on them. These sometimes get worn out over time, and to tighten them back up, you just take your finger and you just run it back around this little screw right here, but you do it on both sides. And what that'll do is that'll keep it tight and keep the curtain where you want it. There you have it. So hopefully that will give you some idea of how to use some of the awesome features in your brand new Heartland Pioneer QB300. But at any time, if you have questions, need help, or have concerns, we have an elite service team standing by, ready to help. Call us or just bring your unit in, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure you enjoy that RV to the absolute fullest.